They cannot lie. That's the rule. That's the one absolute, unbreakable law of the hive mind in Pluribus. They can evade, they can stay silent, they can refuse to answer, but they cannot lie. So why did they just call Zosia she? If you've been watching Pluribus, you know the others speak in collective terms. Always we, always us. The very first episode is literally titled We is Us. When Carol asks who this mysterious we is, Davis Taffler explains that we is humanity's collective hive mind. We is us is we. There is no I anymore. There's no she or he as individuals. There's only the collective. This linguistic pattern has been consistent across every episode. When Zosia speaks, she says things like, "We're affected by your emotions. We want so much to please you, Carol. We've been you, but you've never been us." The pronoun usage isn't random. It's fundamental to what the others are. They don't see themselves as individuals because they aren't individuals anymore. Which brings us to episode 5. Carol is at the hospital after nearly killing Zosia with that truth serum stunt. She's waiting, and she asks a simple question about Zosia's condition. The others respond, "She's gonna be fine." She. Not "we are recovering well," not "this vessel is healing." She. Now, you might think I'm reading too much into one word, except these aren't people anymore. They're a collective consciousness that has been meticulously consistent in their pronoun usage for 4 episodes. And they cannot lie. If the hive mind says she, they mean she. But here's the thing. This isn't the first time they've called Zosia she. And once you start tracking when they use individual pronouns versus collective ones, you'll catch what I caught. Let's go back to episode 2. End of the episode. Carol tells Zosia to make her own choice, stay with Carol or leave with Kumba. And Zosia chooses. She walks toward Air Force One. But before she boards the plane, Zosia stops, turns, and looks back at Carol. It's a small moment, easy to miss, but something in that look made Carol run onto the tarmac and stop that plane. At the time, I didn't know what to make of it, but looking back now, that was the first crack, the first hint that something was different about Zosia's connection to Carol. And it only gets clearer from there. Episode 3, Zosia gets injured in the grenade explosion, and pay close attention to how the others talk about her afterward. They say, "We're happy to say Zosia's doing much better. There was some blood loss, but no real nerve damage. She did get a pretty severe concussion that we're going to want to keep an eye on. She's resting now." Did you catch that? She did get a pretty severe concussion. She's resting now. Not we sustained a concussion, not we are resting, she, her, Zosia as an individual. This is the first time we hear the hive use singular pronouns for Zosia. And it happens right after physical trauma. And they can sense Zosia is not part of them, and since they cannot lie, that is why they say she instead of we. But here's the crucial part, and I need you to remember this. Episode 4 opens and Zosia greets Carol with, "We feel much better today." We. She's back to collective pronouns. The hive has reconnected her. Whatever separation happened during the grenade trauma, they repaired it. They pulled her back into the collective. This is important. This proves they know how to fix a severed connection. Physical trauma can separate someone from the hive, but the hive can repair it. They've done it before. They can do it again. Right? Before we get to what happens next, I need to remind you of something else from episode 3. Carol and Zosia are having a drink together, and Carol asks what seemed like a throwaway question. Does the whole world get drunk when you drink? Does some 6-year-old in Sri Lanka slur his words when you knock one back? Zosia cuckles. No, it doesn't work like that. Physical substances affecting one body do not affect the collective. When Zosia drinks alcohol, only Zosia's body gets drunk. The hive doesn't feel it. Remember this. It's going to matter. Episode 4. Carol has figured out that the others cannot lie, so she steals truth serum from the hospital and decides to drug Zosia, hoping to force her to reveal how to reverse the joining. She wheels Zosia outside and injects the serum, and this is where you need to pay very close attention. Carol asks, "What do you think the temperature is, about 80?" Zosia responds, "It's currently 27.778 degrees Celsius or 82 degrees Fahrenheit. The winds are 3 kilometers per hour from, She trails off. Carol pushes, "From where?" Zosia struggles. "From southeast?" Carol asks about precipitation. She can't barely form words. Do you see what's happening? When Zosia answers the temperature, she gives it to 3 decimal places, 27.778 degrees. That level of precision isn't from her body senses, that's hive mind Gerder. That's the collective's exact measurement. She's still connected when she starts answering. But mid-sentence, something changes. Wind direction, she can barely get it out. Precipitation, she can't access it at all. We're watching the severance happen in real time. The drug is blocking her connection to the collective, and she's losing it word by word. Carol presses harder. "How do I reverse the joining?" And Zosia's response is heartbreaking. She stammers, "We know." She starts to say we, her default, her identity, her entire sense of self, but she can't finish it. The connection is failing.
Now, here's where it gets disturbing. Remember what Zosia said about alcohol? Physical substances affecting one body don't affect the collective. It doesn't work like that. So, by that same logic, truth serum in Zosia's system shouldn't affect the hive either. It's a physical substance. It's affecting one body. The collective shouldn't feel it. But what happened during the interrogation scene? They all cried. Not seizing, not the violent neurological shutdown we saw in episode 2 when Carol's rage killed 11 million people. Crying. Tears streaming down their faces, gathering around Carol and Zosia chanting, "Please, Carol," through their tears. If physical substances don't transfer to the collective, why did they all cry? Because the crying wasn't about the drug. The crying was about losing Zosia. Think about it. Zosia was being chemically severed from the collective. She couldn't access their shared data. She couldn't say "we" properly anymore. She was being pulled away from them. The hive wasn't crying because of the truth serum in Zosia's bloodstream. They were crying because they could feel her disappearing. They were experiencing, maybe for the first time since the joining, what it feels like to lose someone. Not to death, to disconnection. And that's what makes that terrifying for them. Nearly 1 billion people died during the joining, but death isn't lost for the hive. When someone dies, their consciousness stays. Helen is gone, but her memories, her thoughts, her entire self lives on in the collective. Death is just a body shutting down. The mind remains forever. But disconnection? That's not a body dying. That's a mind leaving, a consciousness being pulled away while it's still alive, memories being extracted, not preserved. For the first time in their existence, they weren't losing a vessel. They were losing a soul. And that's why they attacked. "Please, Carol, please, Carol." We'd never seen them aggressive before. They can't hurt Carol. Her anger kills them. But in that moment, they surrounded her, pressed in, desperate. Because if one consciousness can be pulled out of the collective while still alive, the entire system is vulnerable. They weren't just mourning Zosia. They were terrified of what her disconnection means for all of them. And then she flatlined, cardiac arrest. Her heart stopped. And listen to the language. Even during the crisis, someone in the crowd says, "She's dying, Carol. She's in cardiac arrest. May we save her?"
She's in cardiac arrest. May we save her?
There it is again. She, her, just like after the grenade. Physical trauma, and suddenly, Zosia becomes she instead of we. But remember, after the grenade, they fixed it. In episode 4, we see Zosia saying, "We feel much better." They repaired her, pulled her back. So surely they'll do the same thing now, right? They'll revive her, repair the connection, and by episode 5, she'll be back to we. Episode 5, Carol wakes up in the hospital. She asks about Zosia's condition. The others say, she's gonna be fine. She. Still individual pronouns. They haven't fixed it. After the grenade, Zosia was back to we by the next episode. But after the truth serum and cardiac arrest, she's still she, and that's when the entire population of Albuquerque evacuates. Carol races to a rooftop just in time to see thousands of taillights streaming out of the city. The others have left, and they took Zosia with them. For the entire episode, Carol can only communicate through recordings, that same pre-recorded message. "Our feelings for you haven't changed, Carol, but after everything that's happened, we just need a little space." When she needs something done, they send drones, machines. No direct contact, no face-to-face interaction. Why? Because they cannot lie. If Carol walked up to any member of the Hive and asked, "What's happening to Zosia?" they would have to answer truthfully. The recordings protect them. The drones protect them. The physical distance protects them. They didn't evacuate because they need space from Carol. They evacuated because they can't fix Zosia this time, and they don't want Carol to know. So what's different? The grenade was physical trauma. They repaired that. The truth serum is a physical substance. By their own rules, it shouldn't even affect the collective. But something broke that they can't put back together. And when I look at what changed, between the grenade and now, there's only one variable: Carol. 4 episodes of Carol's undivided attention. 4 episodes of being seen as a person instead of a collective. 4 episodes of someone looking at Zosia, just Zosia, like she matters as an individual. The Hive's mistake wasn't the truth serum. It was assigning one specific person to Carol, because Carol's an author. She creates people. She writes individuals into existence. And maybe she's been doing it to Zosia this whole time. I don't know exactly how, but I know they evacuated an entire city to separate them, and I know they still can't fix her. Whatever Carol is doing, it's working. The show is called Pluribus, from E pluribus unum, out of many, one. That's been the story so far. 8 billion individuals merged into one consciousness. But what if the show is actually about the reverse? Out of one, back to many. Carol has spent the entire series asking how to undo the joining, looking for a cure, a weapon, a way to fight back. And the answer might have been standing next to her since episode 2. Let's track it one more time. Episode 2, Zosia looks back at Carol, something shifts. The first crack. Episode 3, after the grenade, she's resting now. First individual pronoun. Episode 4, we feel much better. They repaired her, pulled her back. Episode 4 ending, she's dying, she's in cardiac arrest, broken again. The Hive cries, they attack, they're terrified. Episode 5, she's gonna be fine. Still broken, still she, they can't repair it, and they can sense Zosia not being part of them and then the evacuation. The pattern is undeniable, and they cannot lie. One pronoun, one word they couldn't hide behind. The others weren't making a mistake, they were telling the truth. Right now, in this moment, Zosia isn't we anymore. She's becoming someone. And if one person can be pulled out of the collective, so can others. Carol might not just be immune. She might be the cure. Episode 6 drops December 5th, and I think we're about to see exactly how far the Hive will go to keep Carol away from Zosia. Because in a world where lying is impossible, pronouns aren't mistakes. They're confessions.